Good morning, y'all. Was thinking about some things this morning, um, involving, spirituality and whatnot. And I think that this needs to be said everywhere. And I know that there's pagans and witches, doesn't matter your path. I know that this has been said before, but it's just a steady reminder that spirituality is really, really hard. And if you're not careful, and this happens to some people going through like spiritual psychosis, stuff like that. When you first begin your spiritual journey, it's known that some people do become obsessive with it. And I think that that's normal when you're just starting it because, like, you're very into the whole learning everything that you can. We're also naive and power hungry when we're young, too. Whether you're young or not, I don't like the term baby witch. I wouldn't even say beginner witch. It's more, you just found out that you're a witch and something in your soul told you that. Or maybe you're not a witch, you're just a pagan. Either way, I respect your beliefs on what you feel is right for you and your path, because our path is not meant to look similar. Even if we worship the same deity, you may get a different version of the deity than I do. Like, and you don't even have to work with a deity to be a witch. You really don't. But that's a different topic. Today I want to talk about mental health and why it's so important inside of your spiritual journey. What it's done to me personally when I didn't focus on that. So, as a follower of Angrboda, and I love her and her daughter, Goddess Hell. Um, Hell wasn't always seen as a goddess. She was ridiculed a little bit when she was younger because of her disabilities and stuff. As a person who struggled with mental illnesses most of her life and still does, because they don't just disappear magically when you find out you're spiritual, they can actually get worse, which is why I'm making this video. I had to, and multiple times, take a break from the spiritual community to ground myself. That doesn't mean that I was any less of a spiritual woman, but logically that I knew I needed help outside of all those energies, outside of, you know, deities, paranormal. Because working with those, if you're not careful, like if you don't ground yourself quite a lot, therapist or not, if you don't try to focus on what's in front of you and ground yourself, you're doomed. So that's the point of this video. This isn't the first time actually, I have to be honest, more so during the week. I don't even talk to many deities except for two. Like two of them. Because I have a bond with them. And also because I've let it be known my boundaries. Like, and my mental and emotional boundaries. And you can do that even if you work with a certain deity or not. You can let them know. I mean, I've been friends with mediums and psychics that even have to let the dead know you can't come into my home like that without my permission around this time frame. It's because some of them had children too. So they were like, I'm not willing to pass over messages for you around this time. I have my own life. That's what it's about. You have to have your own life outside of this and try to rationalize with that, okay? Here's what's going to happen when you don't. And this is something that I had to, once again, I always have to remind myself, listen, I knew that I was pagan at a young age, but I didn't really know the term. I was forcing myself into basically, so this is some of my backstory too, so that way I can help deliver this message. I grew up in a very narcissistic family. Um, the women are more narcissistic than the men. Men are just, um, they don't like to deal with their emotions, so I guess that kind of makes it worse. Um, Forced me into Christianity at a young age. Didn't really have a choice. So, you know, wasn't receiving love at home or within my family, so I try to force myself into this belief system. And then, eventually in my 20s, I started to understand what the word paganism meant, and I was like, "Oh my God. This feels a little bit more my area, my criteria or whatnot." And still young. I'm still young even now. Listen. We're all ignorant and always learning throughout this journey. So, in continuing part of my background, um, with the whole Christian thing, I'd be love bombing, and then I became a pagan, dude. I was very naive. I went through spiritual psychosis, and then actually had a mental psychotic break. Started becoming pagan at 20, so 25 I had a psychotic break because I'm trying to remember details in between. Around that time I was in, I had a bad marriage. I had a divorce because I was being bullied by my husband and his whole family, so there was a divorce there. And then I also got with another abusive individual, which didn't help my spiritual journey. And then I'm sitting here researching all these deities, right? I'm wanting to find a connection to something to the point where it fucked me up. This shit is not a joke. Your mental health is not a joke. Um, and then I had my second episode during my postpartum after giving birth, because that's when I found the right pantheon that felt like home, which is the Norse. That's why I'm here, speaking with Norse groups and stuff. And sorry, I move around a lot and use my hands when I talk. So essentially, after that, I realized a harsh fucking reality that nobody was responsible for my mental health but me. Not the gods, the paranormal, not this fucking psychic mediums, not tarot reading. It was me. And then after that, because there was many breaks, but not enough time for healing process for me. I took a 2-year break from my spiritual journey, and then I got back in that. And then I was able to process What's good for Amber? Um, how much time I was willing to give into learning about myself and my spiritual journey. But the other issue was I was also overthinking my journey quite a bit, to the point where because I struggle with borderline personality disorder, and we have a tendency to be hot and cold real quick. So I would feel like a connection to something, and then I would just drop it because it didn't feel right. Because in reality, I was still healing, and we're always healing, by the way. Healing is not linear, it's spiral. And there are going to be times where you're going to take, 10 steps forward, 3 steps back. It's never going to be healing overnight. And whoever tells you that you heal overnight is ridiculous and has some healing to do themselves, okay? So, you are important in the grand scheme of your own personal life, but you are no better than others. I remain, or try to remain, even with my ego, to humble myself. Um, my advice for others struggling through depression, while being, in the spiritual path, take as much time as you need away from it. And if you feel like you can balance it, do that. Um, if you work with, paranormal and spirits and stuff, you can tell them, like, hey, you're coming into my home and speaking through me. I'm not going to let that happen without my permission and if I allow it anymore. And these are, you can set spiritual boundaries and emotional and mental boundaries. So even if you're working with a deity and you're like, I don't think, between, my work schedule, my family life, me being a parent, all that, that I can actually do this all the time. Set it for like once a month. Like, don't over stress yourself in your fucking spiritual journey. Like, I see some people on TikTok using filters, thinking that the gods are talking to them through these filters. And I'm like, no, that's not how that works. We're overthinking it. Okay? So here's what you do. I think therapy should be free for everybody. Um, if you cannot afford the kind of mental therapy that you need, journal, or get a blog. Anything that's not harmful to you and another person, essentially. Um, but, you know, part of what helped me ground myself was looking around at my life. Like, I know right now I can't be doing anything spiritual because I have a whole living room to clean because I have a toddler. Um, I got laundry to fold. I struggle with depression to the point where I have to fight myself to get in the shower. So, um, there are times where the deities that I do speak to, they want to speak to me or through me or whatever. And, I have to let them know, like, hey, we're not doing that right now. I have to shower. Like, I have to take care of me. And they're like, okay. Because we have a genuine, healthy relationship, okay? And the next video that I'm going to make is advice on how to keep and maintain a healthy relationship outside of your struggling mental health. And if you think that you can't do that, then stick with my advice on this one. Ground yourself. I took a 2-year break. Listen, I'm still taking breaks from spirituality. Just because you're spiritual does not mean that you need to put yourself through psychological help, crisis to have these bonds. And you want to know my honest take on this? Your soul's going to let you know when things feel right, okay? If you feel like you have forced yourself somewhere that you don't feel comfortable anymore, whether it's around a group of people, whether it's around, your job, your lifestyle, all that, um, you know, maybe you're overthinking things. Because spirituality is sometimes really simple, but you have to put in the mental and emotional work. Shadow work is necessary. Nobody knows the good and bad parts about me better than me because I have studied myself. I have to. I am a work in progress all the time, as anyone else. So, outside of the whole spiritual realm, there is a part of you that needs constant attention. Okay? I used to be jealous of people's spiritual past until I realized this isn't a race. And if you're not careful, it could literally be life or death for you. Like, mental health is that serious. So, I hope everyone that's watching this has a fairly decent day. And when I get the chance and when I have the time, I will make another video on how I personally keep a healthy relationship with the deities around me. Bye. Have a good day.